welcome back. If you haven't gathered by my purple, green, and gold appearance, it is currently Mardi Gras time. And the end of Mardi Gras is Fat Tuesday, which is also Donut Day. Now, growing up in high school was when I first heard about Donut Day, and you got a donut and you were supposed to eat a donut for good luck. So for a while, that's all I knew. Then I discovered the traditional Pennsylvania Dutch Fastnachts. And Fastnacht comes from the German Fastnacht. And the reason that it's Donut Day, or I think Pancake Day, and all sorts of other things, it's the last night before Lent. So the Pennsylvania Dutch wanted to use up all the lard and the bad ingredients that you would typically give up for Lent. So they would make these potato donuts, and those are the Fastnachts. And they're so good. And usually the best Fastnachts, in my opinion, are from Wise Markets. And they're just so good. It's like a dense donut. I can't explain. If you haven't had a Fastnacht, go get a real Fastnacht. They are super delicious. So this year I decided to try and make my own Fastnachts because, like many during this pandemic, I've been getting into baking a little bit more cooking and baking. Now, I'm going to preface this. I think I've said it before. Baking is a science. It truly is. The ingredients, you have to follow the recipe. Baking, it's a science. Through searching for a Fastnacht recipe, most of the recipes I found made like 64 Fastnachts, and I didn't want that many. I was hoping to maybe get a dozen. If they were good, I was going to share them with friends and family. So I finally found a recipe that would allow me to adjust the number of servings the recipe would make, which was great because it then updated the ingredients list. However, it did not update the amount of the ingredients in the actual recipe text. So next time I'm going to have to print out the recipe and make hand notes because, as you'll see, I made a critical error. So I didn't really get the Fastnacht that I had been wanting. So the first step, you cut and boil your potatoes. You need at least, for, again, the adjusted recipe for just the 12, I needed a cup of mashed potato and I needed a cup of the starchy water, which actually I somehow, through the boiling process, ended up with exactly a cup of starchy water. The next step is to add to your mashed potato that starchy water, yeast. In my case, I think it was a teaspoon of yeast. And here's where everything went awry. The ingredient list correctly called for only a cup of sugar. However, down in the recipe, when I went to add the sugar and I checked the recipe, it said 2 cups. So I added 2 cups of sugar. Now, at the time, I thought everything was going well. I came back, I checked the picture of my ingredients at this point, matched the picture in the recipe at this point. However, when after an hour it was supposed to be frothy and show the yeast was working, it wasn't frothy and it still looked like the pre-hour picture, but the yeast said you didn't need to proof it first, you could just use it as is and it would work. So I still continued on my merry way with trying to make my Fastnacht. However, 2 cups of sugar killed the yeast. The dough didn't rise. So, yeah. So the plans changed. I decided. So when the dough didn't rise, I thought I would try and make the Fastnacht. So I did. I pulled dough, made a donut shape. The first one I tried in the Crisco to actually fry it like you're supposed to. However, it burnt very quickly on the edges. And remember, yeah, you don't want to spill that on yourself. It's hot and it hurts. And so I decided at that point, it was still like raw in the middle and burnt on the edges. I decided to try my air fryer. So I put that one in to try and cook up the middle. Then I did another one where the Crisco was still liquid but cooled. So I just kind of ran it, the liquid Crisco around the edges, put that in the air fryer. And the third method I tried was oil cooking spray. And I put that all in the air fryer and it worked. They turned into more roll-like than Fastnacht or donut-like, which is what gave me the idea to maybe just turn the rest of the dough into a loaf of bread. It didn't turn out too bad. The flavor, I finally pinpointed what the bread reminds me of, and the flavor, it's very, very dense bread because the yeast, it didn't rise. The flavor reminds me of Russian Orthodox Pascha. It has a very sweet, kind of crummy consistency. So overall, it didn't turn out too bad. I didn't get the Fastnachts that I wanted, but I now have this nice, sweet, yummy sort of breakfast bread. Like I said, because it had that extra sugar, it's very sweet. It's a little... after it's set overnight, I did have to put it in the microwave to soften it a bit. It hardened up, but it still has a really good flavor. And I'm happy I didn't have to waste the dough that I made. However, yes, once again, I have learned a valuable lesson so that you don't have to. Thanks for joining me in another culinary adventure. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time.